Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, MBC Lifestyles Diary. My name is Marie. I live in New York and I love fashion, travel, and cultural events, and I'm asking you to join me on the adventure. Today we're at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, and we're waiting to go see the Karl Lagerfeld exhibit, Line of Beauty. Asking you to join me. Let's go take a look. The Metropolitan Museum of Art is located at 5th Avenue and 81st Street. It's practically free for New Yorkers with ID or pay what you wish. We're here for the Karl Lagerfeld exhibit, A Line of Beauty. Lagerfeld was born in Hamburg, Germany, September 10th, 1933, and died February 19, 2019, at age 85. Karl Lagerfeld worked for labels such as Fendi from 1965 to 2019. He was in charge of their fur and leather division and credited with reviving the house by creating the logo FF, which stood for Fun Fur. He worked for Chanel from 1983 to 2019, also credited with reviving the house and making it a world player. He designed for Chloe from 1963 to 1978 and 1992 to 1997. And then he had his own label, the Karl Lagerfeld label, 1984 to 2019. As you can see, he was constantly working, and some of his stints overlapped. And not only did he do that, but he also was an artist, and he also did architecture and some interior design. He was a contemporary of Yves Saint Laurent, so some of the things you see, such as the flowy, non-padded garments of the mid-70s, was also in keeping with Yves Saint Laurent's style evolution. And in 1980, he returned to the paddings and the structure and the big shoulders, and that was also making him a contemporary of Thierry Mugler. A protege of Karl Lagerfeld was Hervé Leger, and Karl Lagerfeld also did collaborations. In 2000, he collaborated with Diesel for some denim garments. He collaborated with H&M, and he presented these things in the Lagerfeld Gallery. As I walked through this exhibit, two quotes from Karl Lagerfeld, or statements attributed to him, stand out in my mind. The first quote is, "Fashion does not belong in a museum." I find that ironic as I stand in the Metropolitan Museum of Art looking at his work that spanned over 60 years. And the second quote is, "Fashion is not art, and fashion designers are not artists. It's a purely pragmatic profession and a commercial endeavor." With that being said, I am still enjoying looking at his creations at the Met and the way they're displayed. And you see creativity, you see ingenuity, and you see that he didn't exist in a bubble, because as you frequently go to these exhibits, you see how the times and how the designers affect each other. It's also not lost upon me that this exhibit was made possible by Chanel, Fendi, Karl Lagerfeld, and Condé Nast. And a bit of personal history and a point of view, a woman's perspective. Fashion is our milieu. That's where women thrive. Fashion, cooking, interior design. It's also about the things that have been afforded to us throughout history. Also, I love beautiful objects. So it's not only in the form of things that are deemed as art, like paintings and sculpture and architecture, but it's in the everyday things that affect our lives. The other thing is, I was always impressed by clothing, the making of clothing, the constructing of clothing, was a way that women were able to support themselves. So even at the head of this, you see Karl Lagerfeld getting all this glory. He still needed the seamstress, the models, the technicians that enabled his vision to come true. And that's in every fashion house. In the personal history that I'd like to share, on my father's side, my grandmother was a seamstress, but not just a seamstress. She had an atelier, which enabled her to have some financial independence, and she was known for constructing and sewing and creating beautiful gowns. She's not getting a museum exhibit, but I appreciate that aspect of our history. And I was also told that she used to teach sewing. She was also known as a very good cook, and that was another aspect of her personality. So sometimes when you think you're just drawn to these things, it's nice to look back at your personal family history and see how that has impacted you. The other thing I'd like to state is I was analyzing how the Dior exhibit was my favorite exhibit, and that makes sense because this is the pictures of my mom. That's the style that was out when she was coming of age, and you were looking at these silhouettes and they were gorgeous. So fashion is an ever-evolving history of our times, and it's a reflection of what is taking place in women's lives. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing tremendous beauty and structure and softness and color. But I also note that Karl Lagerfeld did also reduce his color palette to black and white, which was fascinating because that's something he incorporated in his uniform. And in this time when people are talking about overabundance and conserving, I'm finding that people are starting to think about curtailing their wardrobe and also finding a uniform. But in the midst of all these thoughts, I did enjoy being surrounded by all this beauty and looking at the fabrics and looking at the designs and how many ways can we structure a dress and the incredible detail and craftsmanship that it took to create these. I hope you're finding it enjoyable also. And if you're a fashion girly that's watching this, then you'll be able to tell which of his garments were for Chanel, which of his garments were for Fendi, what was for Chloe. And even at the end, we're looking at the Karl Lagerfeld collection of his personal label. This exhibit is open to the public, and you don't have to buy any kind of special tickets or extra tickets. We went early because it's on a first come, first served basis. We contributed whatever we wanted to the Met, and then you went and you scanned a barcode, which puts you on a virtual queue, and it told you when to go up to enter the gallery. Towards the end of the exhibit, you walked into a room that's showing an image of Karl Lagerfeld, and they do it in a circle. And this image was of him trying to deliver a speech, and he spoke 3 languages: German, English, and French. And he's laughing because he was mixing up the words. And I thought, well, is this kind of a wink to his feeling that fashion shouldn't be in a museum? And it actually is. Is that the curator's way of having a laugh, even though it's totally unrelated? At the end, we're seeing Karl Lagerfeld's uniform and his passion for sketching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and remember to like, subscribe, and share.